We usually study history as a horizontal line. We move from left to right, jumping from 1776 to 1914 to 2001. But what happens if we stop moving forward and instead fold it all together? When we look vertically, reading straight down through a single date across all years, we find that history is densely stacked with overlapping eras of human experience. Take August 5th. On the surface, it is a standard midsummer day. But slice down through it, and you find a dense concentration of events spanning 2 millennia of human civilization. To understand how empires are built, dismantled, and steered in new directions, we are going to filter this single day through 3 lenses: beginnings, endings, and flashpoints. Stripping away the year exposes the mechanics of history. A random 24-hour block of time becomes a theater where we can watch the world assemble and disassemble itself. We start with world building. On August 5, 1858, engineers completed the first transatlantic telegraph cable. Before this wire was laid, moving information across the ocean meant putting a letter on a ship and waiting weeks. This single connection allowed messages to cross the Atlantic in minutes, effectively compressing the size of the globe. 24 years later, on this exact date in 1882, the Standard Oil Company of New Jersey was officially established. This corporate structure created the model for modern oil monopolies and the industrial scale that would define the next century. By 1884, August 5th saw the cornerstone laid for the Statue of Liberty. Before the achieved status as a global symbol, it was a massive construction project involving hundreds of copper and steel components. Jump to 1914. Cleveland, Ohio activated the very first electric traffic light, imposing mechanical order on city streets that were being rapidly overtaken by the automobile. Undersea cables, fossil fuel monopolies, copper monuments, and urban traffic grids. This specific square on the calendar consistently served as the launchpad for the physical infrastructure that organized the 20th century. But a day of creation is also a day of collapse. In 1305, a trap was sprung on Sir William Wallace. His capture on this date systematically dismantled his leadership in the Scottish War of Independence and led directly to his trial and execution. Centuries later, in 1974, political survival failed just as quickly. Under orders from the Supreme Court, President Richard Nixon released the infamous smoking gun tape. The audio recorded on that specific tape confirmed his direct role in the Watergate cover-up. His base of support in Congress collapsed immediately, and he resigned days later. We see this exact pattern in the present day. On August 5, 2024, millions of protesters organized a mass uprising across Bangladesh. The scale of the demonstrations forced Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to flee the country, terminating her 15-year rule in a single afternoon. And sometimes the loss is cultural. August 5, 1962, is the day the world woke up to the news of Marilyn Monroe's death. Medieval rebels, sitting presidents, and global icons. August 5th demonstrates that entrenched power and cultural dominance can evaporate within a few hours. Between the beginnings and the endings are the flashpoints, events that force the global trajectory to pivot. On August 5, 1914, a German mine layer was sunk in the Thames estuary. It was the onset of global naval combat in World War I. In 1962, South African police arrested Nelson Mandela. His subsequent 27-year imprisonment became the catalyst for an international campaign against the apartheid system. Exactly 1 year later, in 1963, the United States, the UK, and the Soviet Union sat down and signed the Partial Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, a binding agreement to limit the radioactive fallout from atomic tests. Sinking a warship, jailing a visionary, or restricting a nuclear arsenal, these moments represent specific shifts that forced nations to react, recalibrate, and move in entirely different directions. The layers of August 5th stretch across a millennia. This is the day the Han Dynasty was restored in AD 25, and the day 33 Chilean miners became trapped underground in 2010, initiating a 69-day rescue effort that would eventually result in all of them reaching the surface alive. We are taught to read history as a steady march forward, But lived history is a dense, overlapping cycle of beginnings, endings, and pivots, happening concurrently on every single square of the calendar. We often assume today is just a normal day. Yet it only takes 24 hours to lay a cornerstone, release an audio tape, or sign a treaty producing consequences for several generations. Tomorrow is just an empty slot on the calendar, waiting to be filled by its own set of world-altering events.